Here it goes.
All right, here we go. Let's see who shows up. Just 3 people are waiting. Just 3 people are waiting. All right. We are live. What is going on? Right.
Uh-oh.
We got somebody in here. What are you doing tonight, redneck?
Redneck, how you doing? Mad Veteran, how you doing? You see me looking this way, and then you see me looking this way. It's because I got to take a look at the comments over here on the laptop, and then make sure I'm looking at the camera, looking pretty over on this side.
Should be an interesting night.
Absolutely. Ben, thanks, man, for asking me to do this. This is an honor, and you know, I have a lot of respect for you and your channel. I really do. One of the things I've always thought about you is that you bring a very positive image to our hobby, man. And that's one of the things I've really enjoyed about your channel. We message back and forth, so I believe that we've got this friendship happening and going on, and I appreciate that. So you're a guy of knowledge, and you got some killer animals, so I appreciate you, man. Thanks for inviting me to do this.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on here. I know you just started your YouTube channel, so we got to get you up on the views and on the subscriptions on that. But you have a lot of animals, which is awesome. And then we have like the similar taste in the boas, which is nice because it is kind of difficult to find people that like boas since everybody is into ball pythons, which is nothing wrong with them. I like them as well, but it's nice to know that people like boas way more. So
I do. I have a love for boas. Matter of fact, somebody had hit me up on my channel about why do I have so many boa constrictors and what's my deal with ball pythons. So I actually am my next video is going to be my reasons why I prefer boa constrictors over ball pythons.
Definitely. And I think a lot of people get scared because they see the adult size boas and they figure like within a year they go from small to like 6 feet. And then when the reality is it can take 4 or 5 years for them to get actually a good, decent size. So, but I think a lot of people think that beginner snake, that if you're a beginner, you have to buy a ball python. And I don't know where that's coming from, but you can be a beginner and not know anything about snakes, and you can get a boa and be completely happy with it.
And that I am. This is my call albino. He is 6 years old, male, and pretty much he's full grown. He'll grow a little bit more over the time of his life. I don't expect him to get probably much more than 6 feet long in his life, for the rest of his life. He's probably a full grown animal that will just, as he eats, he's going to grow a little bit more and a little bit more. And then I've got other animals, of course, that are my Dumeril's boa that I have as a male as well. He's almost 6 years old and probably weighs close to 25 pounds. He's just a big animal.
That's a big snake.
Yeah. Dumerils are, they're supposed to stay between, what I've read, of course. And it's funny because we talk about the length of snakes and giant snakes versus smaller snakes. It's the same thing goes for humans, right? Like every once in a while, foot human, right? Well, every once in a while, you'll see an 8 or 9 foot boa constrictor, or they're not the norm. They're very uncommon. But boy, when you see one, that's how big they get. They get just huge, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the same thing with, the Burmese and stuff like that. You can get a Burmese at 2 years old at 10 feet, but if you feed it properly, like, I'm saying it's like 3.5 to 4 feet. And the same with the boa. You can probably overfeed a boa.
Oh yeah.
You get massive, but it'll die within 8 or 10 years. And if you feed it right, you can have it for 15. So there's a lot of big time YouTubers and big time Instagram people who have massive snakes, and they're only like that because they're literally killing the animal for views, for money, for subscribers, because big snakes get views. But because somebody was posting up on Facebook today saying that his Burmese died at 10 years old. I mean, this thing was very overweight, and he was like, it just died of old age. It's like, Burmese should live 20 plus years. You know what I mean? So it's like you can kill them quickly by overfeeding them, but everybody wants a big snake within, like a 2 to 5 year period, and then they just end up killing them. But I mean, it's sad that people do that.
Yeah, I see a lot of comments, man. I'm gonna take a look at these comments real quick. I see ball pythons are rocks. I agree with that. Well, that is actually a little topic that I'm going to cover in that video, because I have a couple of ball pythons right now that they kind of defy that rock thing, and there's a couple more reasons why I still have them. I do not have Facebook. I used to have Facebook, and it was just a little bit too controversial for me, so I got rid of it probably about a year ago. Nameless Collector, how you doing? Good to see everybody here tonight. Yeah. So I've read that they can live up to 30. And you said it, if we treat them like we treat ourselves, and a lot of us just like to eat, I know I used to weigh 264 pounds, and I like to eat, right? But I got healthy. I started taking care of myself. So for the last, 12 to 13 years, I've been I went from 264 to 170, 175, and I've maintained that weight. The reality is that all that food I was doing was killing myself. Think about and people feeding a snake like this once a week, extra large rats.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you're killing the animal. So,
and I mean, and that's the thing too. Like, the snakes they're not active animals. Like, they would rather sit in one area and be comfortable. So when you're, throwing fatty foods at them all the time, they don't get the exercise that they're supposed to have, or like us, or like another animal. So they just store the fat because they don't, and they don't know when they're supposed to eat again in the wild. So we just keep on feeding them over and over and over again to get them big, and it's all just for social media. I feel most people that have huge retics or huge berms or huge bows within 2 to 3 years, it's all about social media status.
Right. Hey Ben, how many snakes do you have now? I see a lot on those racks, man. Every time I watch a video, I see like a newer, a more expansion of the labels on the racks.
So I think I have 40, and I'm planning to get more, and I'm waiting for a special snake to be ready here in the next couple of weeks so I can buy. But hold on a second. I gotta get a snake really fast that's out cruising around.
I had a ball python collection before I had a boa collection. And of course, those of us who have owned ball pythons know that ball pythons can be very, very picky eaters. And I got frustrated, go into forums and, blah, 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 right? And people would tell me, hey, if you own like 10 ball pythons, you should at least own 1 to 2 boa constrictors to pick up the food that the ball pythons aren't eating. Because I'm looking at, boa constrictors are trash cans. It's kind of true. It's kind of true.
Yeah, I mean, people people judge me all the time, and a lot of people that keep their snakes in rack systems or in tubs, but the reality of it is you can put a ball python in a glass tank with a huge heat lamp and it's probably not going to eat. And I don't have any issues. Like I'll feed 20 ball pythons in a night and all 20 of them will eat for me, unless they're in shed, which sometimes if they're in shed, they really don't eat. But I really don't have issues with the ball pythons not eating because I keep them in very small areas and they have good humidity and good heat, which is, that's what the snake naturally does. And that's what the snake wants. But our human brains think that we have to give them this huge enclosure with all this crazy stuff with it. And because in our brains, like we want to give them an awesome enclosure or an awesome environment, when in reality ball pythons live in Africa and they live in anthills, like in the mud, like literally.
Right.
So it's like so if you keep them in a tub, they're gonna eat, they're gonna thrive, they're gonna do everything that they're naturally supposed to do. And when you try to change that environment for our human brains to make it look more ideal for us, then that's when things start to go bad.
Right. Right.
And I've seen a lot of people kill their ball pythons because they keep them in a 50-gallon glass tank with a heat bulb on it, and then they don't shed, they don't eat, they don't shed right, and then they just end up killing the animal rather than sticking them in an inhumane box which they're supposed to be in.
The funny thing about that is that I used, when I was on Facebook, especially, I would get a lot of people asking me about ball pythons. Hey, Gary, my ball python's not eating. I say, let me see a picture of your setup. To me, I think that's kind of the most important thing, especially with ball pythons, because they're very, very picky about environment, heat, humidity, and area that they have. And it's just like, I'd see this wide open fish tank with this like rock, tree, and a ball python in it.
Yep, that's how it is.
And they're wondering why it's not eating. The reality is that what I figured, they had a stressed out snake, and
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I didn't know any better because I was that guy too. I used to keep my first ball python in a big enclosure. As a matter of fact, I'll go and dispel this. Like before, I was really into boas from the time when I was a teenager until about 10 years ago or so. And what happened is that I didn't know anything about husbandry. I didn't know anything about heat, humidity. I had 2 boa constrictors in this wire mesh cage that I built in the back room. Kept them in there. I thought they were happy. I just didn't know any better. I got bit a couple of times by one of them. They were rescue snakes, and where I live up in the foothills, so it's kind of hard to feed the bigger snakes when there's snow on the ground. You can't get out. People don't have the supply of food that you need, so I ended up getting rid of them. What I found is that I was being completely improper with my husbandry and my feeding and everything else. And it took me to get a ball python to really learn, understand, and implement true husbandry of a snake. And that's where I thought to myself, man, if I get another boa constrictor, I can implement that same husbandry to a boa constrictor. And I thought, this ball python had to be in this big aquarium. And what I found is that it only needed like a 10 or 20 gallon tank. And if it was in the aquarium, black out the sides so that it didn't feel full. So since that time, I did more research and I really enjoy the racks and these enclosures right here, these AP enclosures that I have. I have 4 more of them on order. They're so simple. And I think personally that my boas thrive in this environment. I've never had a problem with them. No shedding problems, no heating problems. And I don't have a super enrichment environment going on. I got a couple of hides, water, and cocoa blocks.
I mean, that's all you really need.
Yeah, and it works.
But it's crazy because like in the 80s and the 90s, when the internet wasn't around, people had boas, berms, and retics in homemade wooden crates, and they thrived, and people were breeding them with just a dome light of 100-watt dome light. You know what I mean? So it's like people were breeding successfully with the boas and the berms and all this other stuff in the 80s and 90s on the most simplistic setups. And then now here we are, we got $3,000 rack systems, $400 PVC enclosures, and we're trying to make this stuff work. And then people were doing this back in the day with just going to Lowe's and buying a whole bunch of lumber and just building the most basic enclosures. It's crazy.
But look at the snakes we're buying today too. Back then we were buying, $50 ball pythons and $100 boa constrictors, and now, I mean, they bought a $1,500 boa constrictor, and now I kind of look more towards the higher end animals because I'm appreciating the morphs, the localities. It's become a broader spectrum to me. And again, that kind of circles back to what I was talking about before with your channel, is that you kind of opened up my eyes. Let's talk about the Argentines for a minute. Matter of fact, let me put coconut away. I'll go grab my Argentine.
Okay.
I'm Argentine.
Hey, Bionic, if you're in here, to answer your question, if your anaconda's having trouble eating, I would definitely feed it a live quail or a live day-old chick, because it does take them a while to get over to rats. So they will eat live birds, no problem. That's what she was on in my other gray anaconda for over a year, with eating birds. And then 9 out of 10 times they'll swap over whenever they feel like it. It's totally random. But I mean, that's the thing that does suck about the anacondas, is they are super picky. They might eat fish, like the fillets. But I would try a live bird, honestly.
So this right here is definitely an animal that I've done a lot of research on, and I did see more than just yours. But because I pretty much watch your channel a lot, and I watch you with your Argentine, there was really a catalyst for me to purchase this one right here.
Mine kind of hates me sometimes.
I'm lucky that he doesn't hate me yet, and I don't know if that's going to come with age, but as of right now, it appears that we have a pretty good relationship. When I first got him, he was a little apprehensive and hissy, and now he's pretty good. He's a lot like my Dumerils, where he's just a big lap. He kind of sits back, and he was really, like I said, I couldn't touch him before. If I got near his face, he would freak out. Now he doesn't.
Yeah, my Argentine's pretty chill when I get him out, but I have to get a hook on him. If I reach my hand in there, he'll light me up every single time. But once he's out, I have no problems with him at all. Perfectly fine.
Since it was a baby, right?
Yep.
Was it the same way when you first got it, or did it kind of evolve?
No. It definitely evolved. So.
But I have a lot of locality boa constrictors. I've really come to appreciate the environment and the what these boas truly look like without having any sort of alteration to them. This is just a bare bone Argentine, no T positive, just black and white Argentine.
And the one thing about the Argentines is that they are on the watch list for being endangered in South America. So it is nice that we can own them in America, and we can keep the species alive from going extinct by breeding them. But again, very few people are breeding them now and getting their hands on them. So the prices have gone up, because when I bought mine 4 years ago, I think I paid like $200, and then people stopped breeding them for a while. And then I think it was Jason Ramadani had a whole a whole bunch of babies, and he was like, I don't see him anywhere, so I'm going to put him up for $900. And if somebody wants it for $900, they can get it for $900. And then everybody bought him for $900. So it only takes one person to own the market on an animal.
$1,000 shipped.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm kicking myself because, I could have bought a male and a female pair 4 years ago, but now, that they're $1,000, and I mean, are they worth it? I would say they're worth it. I would say they're definitely worth $1,000.
With me, I'm very glad I paid what I paid for the snake, and I don't think I paid $1,000 for an Argentine. What I did is I paid $1,000 for something that I'm going to grow up with and I'm going to learn. And he has just been an absolute wonderful snake to enter into my collection and to get to know, especially since a lot of what I've heard about Argentines have been really contradictory so far to him. He's pretty chill. He's pretty docile. So I either got lucky or the terrible twos are on the way.
So has yours changed colors yet?
If the pink is starting to go away. His I don't know if you can see it, if it's picked up in the camera or not, but his pink is definitely starting to go away. He's definitely got more of the black and white, but even it's still kind of like a pasty looking white.
Yeah. I mean, I like them in their baby colors, but once they're adults, they just look phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I like the Max Pinks as well. I wouldn't mind picking up a male, but again, I don't know if it's ethically okay to breed a pink with a black and white. Some people get super upset about like bloodline only. So most people would be like, well, if it's not a Max Pink to a Max Pink, then it's technically not a true blood Max Pink. Just kind of like the Guyanas. If you want a Guyana, you got to keep it with a Guyana. Like you don't put a Guyana to a BCI because you're muddying the water and then nobody wants them and then you're stuck with 20 of them. So like that's not what I want. But I don't know anybody that breeds Argentines to ask them if that's something that would be okay, because I would hate to be the person that does that and then gets bashed all over the internet for muddying the water on all these Argentines instead of keeping them pure, like a pure black and white or the pure Max Pinks.
Would that make it like het for Max Pink? If you were to breed a Max Pink to a regular Argentine, and would 50% be Max Pink and 50% be het?
I don't know if those are hets. Are they hets?
I don't know.
I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what they are. They could be I don't know, that could be a recessive gene. But I mean, I don't have $2,000 to throw down on, well, more than that. I think a Max Pink baby is like $1,500.
That's what I saw. The Max Pinks going between 12 and 15. I saw a T positive for $3,000, and I thought, this dollar Argentine right here is perfect for me. Absolutely perfect. The other thing is that I've got a friend of mine that lives close to here. She's got a female Argentine.
Okay.
So, and her Argentine is about the same age as my Argentine. So the plan is that we will be breeding
Nice.
regular black and white Argentines to each other in the next 5 years or so.
And they're still really rare. So even if you have just a regular black and white one, you rarely see people that have them. And then when people know you have it, it's like people are shocked, and because a lot of people don't know what they are, because not a lot of people are, like it's not the average person's boa or even locality, but they are definitely very, very a pretty snake, as babies or adults.
If you're into locality boa constrictors, and I think an Argentine is almost a must in your collection. And if and I say that because of the Argentine that I own. I mean, I love this guy right here. He's definitely, like I said, he's gentle. I hope that he gets some size to him. Not that I'm going to feed him into size, but I heard Argentines can get between 8 and 10 feet long. So we'll see what happens. And,
they get. I heard they get bigger than that.
Yeah. So I've got an 8-foot enclosure coming for him for the future.
Nice.
So I'm gonna go put him back. I'm gonna grab my Surinam real quick.
Cool. Yeah, you can try to feed them frozen thawed, but if they don't eat the frozen thawed chicks or birds, then I would just try live. And then after they eat live for a couple meals, then I would go to frozen thawed, because both my anacondas had no issues eating live or frozen thawed birds. I mean, some snakes, not every snake is the exact same. So if you have a snake in a tub and the humidity is good and the heat's good, then I really wouldn't worry about doing any long-term damage to your snake. But a lot of people just throw a ball python in like a baby with just a heat dome and barely any hides or anything like that, and then they have issues with them eating, and then that's where the complications come from. But like I said, I have almost 20 ball pythons, and I don't have any issues feeding them.
That's good.
How old is that? Is that your Surinam?
This is my Surinam. This is King Darius.
That tail is crazy bright.
I love it. I got very, very lucky in finding this animal. I was on Morph Market, and I wanted a Surinam with the high peak saddles. I was dead set on it, and all the ones I saw were block saddles.
Nice.
Plus the fact that I was looking at Guyanas, and these things were anywhere between $700 and $900, and the Guyanas were like $300.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know, what's the difference? I mean, they're right next door to each other. Why is a Guyana so much cheaper? One thing I didn't see was most of those Guyanas were imported. They were wild caught. So I didn't put wild caught reptile into my collection. I mean, even if it is treated for parasites, I didn't want to take that chance. So somebody messaged me again. When I was on Facebook, and said, "Hey man, I've got some Surinams for sale." Showed me some pictures. They had the high peak saddles, this beautiful red tail, and I ended up buying 2 of them. I bought one of them for a friend and said, "I just bought and you just bought." So they're I don't know the generation. I think they're F2 was what they call it. Where this is a Futo and a this is one of the first snakes I ever got that had like paperwork. It had the picture of the mother. The mother almost 9 feet long.
That's crazy.
The father was under 6 feet. Was a Futo and I can't remember the other line now that I'm probably live and thinking about it, but the tails were just incredible on the parents. So they weren't cheap, but again, that right there is just, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's almost perfect.
That's blood red beautiful to me. And he's got such great temperament. He's never done anything defensive. He's been a really, really good animal.
Nice.
Checking the comments. But then, of course, being that I really appreciate the locality boa constrictors, I kept my eye out for the Guyana, because I really wanted to add the Guyana to my collection. So I did find a captive bred. Let me pull him out.
Bionic. It is, going back to what your question was, it is tough to get, or at least in my experience, I have 2 green anacondas, and you just have to work with them on the food. I've tried to scent rats with the birds, and that just didn't work for either one of my green anacondas. But over time, they will change to rats. It's a little stressful. It's a little annoying and a little difficult to find birds, depending on where you live. But they will eventually go to rodents. Is that your Guyana?
So the Guyana right here,
Okay.
and he also has a spectacular tail.
Oh yeah, that is really nice. I think to top off your localities, you need to find a Peruvian.
Peruvian BCC. Yes, I've actually had my eyes out. There is one, a Paculpa, for $3,000. But I want a baby. If I get one, I want a baby. I don't want an adult.
Even the Peruvians are expensive and they're hard to find, it seems. I know Jason Ramadani does breed Peruvians, but it's not. I mean, it's hit or miss if he can get them to breed, I think, because he doesn't have babies every year.
There's another guy, Brian Boas, that I think he had a litter, but as soon as he puts them up, they're gone. I mean, I think that guy could probably put a $2,000 price tag on each boa constrictor, and you try to go look for one, and they're sold out.
Yeah, I mean that's how Widow's Peak is too, because they specialize in Surinam's, Guyanas, and Peruvians, and I think he's selling all of them for 1,000 plus, and they're gone instantly.
Yeah, well, I love the BCCs that I have. They're definitely distinctively different in some color differences. My Surinam has got much more speckling to him than the Guyana does. The Guyana is a little more cleaner, and the Guyana is a little more gray than the Surinam, which has got a little bit more like brown, like a light tan brown to him. But they're both just very, very, very beautiful animals, and I love having them in my collection. I'm glad I got them.
Yeah, you can't go wrong, and I think a lot of people. I don't know. It just seems a lot of people, like the people that are coming into the hobby or whatever you want to call it, they overlook the localities because they want the morphs,
Right?
Because that's what everybody's pushing, and then that's just basically what is being shown all the time.
And then it goes the other way. You get people who that's what they want. They want a true red-tailed boa, but yet they have no experience keeping them.
Yeah.
They get one, they throw it in a big glass aquarium, and you're wondering why it's not eating. Its sheds are all messed up, and I had to get my feet wet with the morph boas first. Matter of fact, what I'll do here is I'll bring out my baby, the very first baby boa constrictor that I ever had, because all of the boas that I had previously, they were rescues, so they were full grown. It was not until a few years ago where I decided to buy a baby boa to raise it. Put the Surinam away. Enclosures, man, they are awesome. Oh, look, Matilda wants to come out. On out. Using the hook now.
Have it quills. Yeah, so I mean, it is tough, and it is definitely stressful when you get a snake and they don't eat. But some of these bigger snakes, you just have to try a bunch of different stuff. I always, if they don't eat for me pretty quickly, I always try to go live first, and then if they're eating live pretty well, then I try to switch over to the frozen thawed. But with the African rock and with the anacondas, you should have no problem throwing a live day-old chicken there and having it eat it at all. Which one is that, Gary?
This is my jungle hypo.
Okay.
And this is the very first boa constrictor I purchased as a baby. I bought her in, I think, January of 2019 probably. And he's the very first boa that I got that wasn't a rescue, and that I've actually, I've grown up with. I've watched her. I know her pretty much. I know her ins and outs. She's extremely docile, but she's a little squirrely. She likes to cruise around. Something that the ball, like, she goes right for my neck. She just likes to get around my neck, and she'll get all tangled up in my hair. But that's what she does. But I love it because, all of the snakes that I have right now were raised just like she is, except for Coconut. I got Coconut as a, I think Coconut was 3 when I got him, and Max was 4 when I got him. So they were established snakes, but they've been very, very good. But this snake here, I bought her from Indian River Constrictors, shipped overnight from Florida.
Oh, wow. And
when I got her, I was at work, and she stayed in my pocket for like 4 hours. So yeah, she's and this is a snake. I know we all have different feeding regimens. We all, and I've never been one to say you are feeding your snake incorrectly. I'll be the first to say that, hey, I don't think we should feed our snakes every week like super large items, but if your snake's thriving and your snake's growing and it's doing well, you're not doing nothing wrong. But this is a snake that's been fed every 2 weeks since I had it.
Nice.
And she was born in 2019, in June of 2019.
She's big for 19.
Yeah. So, and this is, I was really skeptical because I read the Vin Russo books, or the book I have, The More Complete Boa Constrictor, and he kind of talks about overfeeding our snakes and the feeding schedule every 2 weeks. I've heard a couple of other people talk about it, and I didn't think that was enough. I thought that these snakes need to be fed every week, and that's what I grew up with actually as growing up in the 80s and 90s, raising snakes that bigger, better, stronger, right? That's the way to snake. And it's not the way. The snake, I want to make sure that I provided a healthy, long life, and feeding it is a big part of that. So, and this is a result of she's getting some size to her.
You want to see one of my? So that's the hypo jungle.
This is my hypo jungle, yeah.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. In 2019.
2019, yeah.
Oh, hold on. So this is my 2000 hypo jungle. So,
wow.
She eats. She's on a wrap pup every week. She sheds every 2 months, and she doesn't even grow. And I don't know what's wrong with her.
The funny thing is that they'll have a growth spurt, and all of a sudden you're going to look at it one day and go, "What the heck?"
But I've been trying to feed her rats, and I don't know. That's what the same thing with my Burmese. She's almost 2, and she's only like 4 feet, and people are questioning me on why she's only 4 feet long and not 8 feet. I'm like, I don't know. I feed it a small rat every 2 weeks, and I have no idea. I guess I don't know what's wrong with my snakes. They just don't grow.
There's nothing wrong with your snakes. So, as I said before, I have a couple of snakes that are what I like to say all Ben's fault. I'm going to bring out one of them now.
Feed my female boa constrictor every. I mean, I feed my boas once a week until they get onto medium rats, and then at medium rats I go to 2 every 2 weeks. So that's my feeding schedule. So if it was a large wean rat, I would feed it every week.
And like I said, people's feeding schedule can be completely different. I've never, and I never would judge or criticize anybody's feeding schedule. It's just what I do works for me. And I see that what other people do for their animals, it works for them. It's when you get on YouTube and you see this, 50-pound, 8-foot, 2-year-old, boa imperator that should never even be close to being that long. Or you see a 2-year-old, 10-foot reticulated python that's about the size of a sewer pipe, and why they're trying to get it to breed faster, and that it doesn't make the snake breed faster because you can actually screw the snake up and it's breeding doing that. But
yeah, you can do more damage than good, but everybody wants to look at it as money. And then once you get money involved, that's when you start killing animals.
Right. So here's my 2021 VPI from John. And this snake is all Ben's fault. Told me how to keep my collection.
That's a good looking snake, though.
It's a beautiful looking snake, and I love his attitude. He's very, very cautious at first when I get him out, but then all of a sudden he just starts. I mean, you'll watch him and he'll start just kind of exploring. And it's is that your moon?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of my other animals. That's all Ben's fault.
This is a 2020, and she's bigger than that hypo jungle.
So. Yeah, how old is she?
This one?
Yeah.
2020.
Wow.
And then my other 2020, the IMG VPI that I have is bigger than she is. And she's a 2021. Sorry, my IMG VPI is a 2021, and she's bigger than the moon.
We have snakes that have growth spurts. It's like it's like my Surinam, for instance. My Surinam, I felt like it wasn't growing at all, and then I started questioning maybe I should give it food every week. But all of a sudden, it just had this growth spurt, and he just started to get some size. It's like I just got to be patient. I'm going to have this animal for the rest of its life, and it's going to grow up. Trust me, it's on the menu. That's a beautiful moon glow, though.
I got this from Ken Masick.
Yeah.
So he has some very nice stuff, and I almost got a ghost IMG from him, which are super hard to find. But I'm not going to say he was wanting too much. I just couldn't afford it at the time. He wanted like $2,000 for it, which is about what they go for. And so I saw the moon glow. And I was like, I'll just get the moon glow. Which, I mean, moon glows and snows are phenomenal looking when they get older.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and I'm going to ask about JJ asked about my Dumeril. So I'm going to grab Max real quick.
So this is a 2021 IMG VPI, and then the 2000 moon glow. So this girl right here is definitely growing up really fast, and she's gotten really dark since I got her. So this is basically what she'll probably look like as an adult, maybe a little bit darker, but since it does have the VPI, she's not going to go completely dark, which is kind of cool. But she's already on large mice once a week. For the first year, I try to keep them on mice, and after a year, I'll switch them over to rat pups. And I've tried to feed her a little too early on rats, and then she regurgitated. So I'm just sticking with mice for the first year. I know some people might do that for 6 or 8 months, but I mean, a snake regurgitating could kill them. So we have to be careful on that. That's a big snake.
This is my my 6-year-old Dumeril boa.
So where are those from native?
They're native to Madagascar.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that's why it's kind of interesting that, like, you don't see, I don't think they physically could breed with a boa imperator. I could be very wrong about that. And the confusion for me lies in, is this a locality boa constrictor, or is it just a different species altogether? And I love these things. This snake right here is probably the most gentle snake that I have. I get to go into schools, kids' fairs, and I always bring Max with me. Max is so tolerant of children touching him, even in complete shed. This snake has absolutely no problem with being handled by multiple people. He's been absolutely socialized very well.
Nice. And that's a male?
This is a male, yeah.
That's impressive. That's a big male.
He weighs about 25 pounds. It's not that he's big, but he's girthy. I mean, I don't know if you can see the size of his. That
is big. So Gary, JJ wants to know why you think the Dumerils are underrated.
I don't know. They're a great snake. I believe that if you wanted to get something other than a ball python, get a Dumerils. I have a friend of mine. They're very strong though. It's definitely one of the snakes you don't want to put around your neck and let it wrap. It's not that he's trying to hurt me, but they're very grippy animals. I mean, they gripped it. His tail is in my pocket right now, gripped in my pocket. So, I had a friend of mine come up. He wanted to handle some snakes. He wanted to know what it was like to have a boa constrictor, and he saw Max on my Instagram or my YouTube. I don't remember what it was. His first snake was a Dumerils. He just loved how docile and how personable, I guess you could say, the Dumerils is, and his is just like mine. He's got a little baby, I don't know if it's probably like 6 or 7 months old, little baby Dumeril boa that he just loves. Every once in a while, I see him with new pictures of it in his hair and whatever. He's having a good time with it. So it's funny that they are. Gosh darn you, he is all wrapped up in my short. They're very underrated, but to me, they're like, I love them. I'm going to put it out there, man. I've offered to send Ben a Dumeril boa. So all he's got to do is say yes. I've got it all hooked up for him. All he's got to do is have the room for it. I got everything taken care of. And the reason is because I believe in these snakes. I believe all the snakes in my collection, but the Dumeril boa, for some reason, has got a different spot. It's just a more personable snake, I guess you could say.
I was never really big into them, or really didn't even know much about them until I saw you have them, and then you started posting a bunch of pictures, and I was like, I really like those. But I would like one, but I mean, I have the room, but I don't know. It's just like, I do want one. I need more boas, but I'm waiting for Nerd to drop his available males that I'm going to get, because I'm getting one male from him. Once it's ready, hopefully I can get it before they sell out. But I think there's a waiting list, so it's kind of like, and that's an expensive snake. So it's kind of like everything's expensive right now. So
everything is right. You're right.
Because Nerd just had 30 green Anaconda babies. So I'm trying to get a male from him for the 2 ladies that I have. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I want too many big boas having the anacondas because it's a lot of work. Definitely a lot of work.
You get a lot of comments on your anacondas. They're not popular, and I don't mean popular like nobody likes them, but I think
they're misunderstood.
Misunderstood, yes.
People, and I get a lot of hate from it. I get a lot of negativity from it, and the reason is, and I swear on it, the reason why anacondas get such a bad rap is because of that stupid Anaconda movie from the 90s. That is the only reason people know about anacondas. They think anacondas get 50 feet, they eat people, they need to have a room size, and it's just not true. Like, you can contain, it's very, very difficult to get an anaconda over 15 feet. Very difficult. Like, it takes years and years, and you seriously have to put a lot of food into them. Most females top out at 14 to 15 feet, which is less than a Burmese and less than a retic. And retics are everywhere. Burmese are everywhere. Burmese get over 100 pounds. Anacondas get over 100 pounds. But you never see people with an anaconda because of the bad rep that they have. I mean, a retic, you really want a 24-foot retic? But a 14-foot anaconda is the problem. Like, I don't understand people. Because if you look at wildlife retics or wildfire retics, he deals in a lot of mainland morphs, and he's feeding their adults live small goats. Do you like, who has that kind of, like, the average person or collector? How are you going to get a live goat? And how are you going to pay for a live goat on your multiple retics? But I do get a lot of hate on the anacondas, and I try to educate them, but a lot of people are super stubborn about it. So it's kind of hard to tell people. I mean, I've never owned an adult anaconda, but I've owned Pop-Tart for over 2 years, and so I think I have a little bit of experience with them, but not a ton. But I mean, if you watch nerd videos or if you watch Megan's videos, they're adult breeder anacondas that are like 10 or 12 years old. They're only 13 or 14 feet. Now, breeding does kind of slow their growth down, but you know, they're not 25-foot monsters. They're not trying to kill you. You don't need a room for just one snake. And I don't know where people get these ideas. But
social media has a lot to do with it. Social media has a lot to do with it. Because even I think I sent you a picture that I saw, and you immediately replied, "Fake news," right? And I think that there's a stigma, and it follows retics and Burmese. You don't see retics and Burmese pythons in everybody's collection. It takes a special person that understands that. First of all, about retics and Burmese pythons and anacondas, Dave Kaufman does a great, Dave Kaufman does a great video on being in the wild and catching live retics, from their environment. He says that, he's never seen a mainland retic over 10, 12 feet long. That's because they're not eating like we feed them.
Exactly. Because so, not to cut you off, but and that's the main thing. An adult retic, an adult berm, an adult anaconda, they could literally eat 2 times a year. That's it. And you have all these big, I'm not naming names, but you have these big YouTube people that are stuffing pigs down these anacondas' throats every 3 weeks, and they're just killing the animal. They just want a big snake for social media, for views, for money, and that's it. And that gives the bad viewership on these anacondas, because if you look at local zoos that own anacondas, they feed them 3 or 4 times a year. That's it. But if you go to these people's YouTube channels, here's a 40-pound pig that takes it 3 hours to eat. That's not healthy for it. Like, it's just kind of, and then that's the mindset, because they have millions of views. They have hundreds of thousands of people watching this guy feed a pig to an anaconda every week, a 30-pound pig every week, and it gets massive, it gets fatty, it just gets overweight, and essentially they're just killing a beautiful animal just for views and just for it's clickbait. That's all it is. You know what I mean? Like, if you can make $3,000 off of a video, then they're like, who cares about the animal? I'm getting revenue off YouTube, revenue off Instagram. It's just, I could go on and on. It's just annoying to me how, and then that's people's only viewpoint about it. And then when you tell them, like, I have a 2-year-old anaconda that's only 5 feet long. That's it. And she's super sweet, super nice. Yep, that's exactly who I'm talking about. There's no reason he needs to feed that anaconda that size of pigs every single 3 weeks or 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Once a month, sure. I mean, it could eat, and I've watched people on YouTube who have a 14-foot female green anaconda. It eats a rabbit, a big rabbit, every 2 months. So you don't need to feed them gigantic food. So yeah, I mean, they get big. I'm not gonna lie. Berms, retics, anacondas, they get big. There's no way around it. You can't stop them from getting big. But they're not unhandleable, and they're not unkeepable.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then so a lot of people, it's just a huge debate. And then people, the big channel people, they definitely ruin it for a lot of people. But dwarfs are really nice too, because they get 10 feet. A lot of states like Ohio, any snake that's over 12 feet, you have to have a permit, a yearly permit. The state has to come in and look at your room, your enclosure setup, and then they have to sign off on it, and then you have to write a letter to your local sheriff department. But if you have a dwarf that's 10 feet, then you can keep all the dwarf retics you want, and then a lot of these states don't even care. And then, you know, a 10-foot snake, that's big, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot better than a 20-foot retic. But
I prefer a snake that's 10 foot or smaller myself, just because of, I kind of know that, you know, when we own snakes, it's a commitment. It's, you know, I'm in this for the long haul. I'm not in this to, you know, show off some really cool animals and then sell it, and then get more cool animals and sell it. You know, I don't have as many as you do. I have, you know, 17 boas in my collection.
That's a lot of boas, though.
It is, right. Some of them are dwarf locality boas that, you know, they won't get over 4, 5, 6 feet long.
Right.
Or you have the Argentine that has the potential to get 10 or 11 feet long. And, you know, when we're in this for, you know, potentially the commitment, I look at it like 30 years. I mean, if you treat these snakes right, you can have them for 20 to 30 years. So I got to look at, you know, the long haul at 70 years old. Beautiful. Beautiful.
She's out cruising the room.
I'll be able to handle and give my snakes the enrichment that they need, you know, so that's.
And it is a commitment. And like, I just turned 37. So me getting into like the babies, it's like, well, I'm going to be in my 40s.
Right.
Even if I wanted to breed, I'll be in my 40s. And then, you know, you're going to keep some babies for future stuff. And so that's another 4 years. So that's 8 years. So I'll be in my 50s before I even get an awesome collection going on. So it's kind of why I picked up a lot of these I'm not going to say higher end, but nicer ball pythons, just to breed out and get kind of the ball rolling a little bit before I do some of the boas. And hopefully I can pick up a male from Nerd, because she could be ready in 2 to 3, probably 3-ish years, because I'm not going to overfeed her or anything. But there's a lot that can happen negative on breeding as well, because like you said, you can raise a snake up for 4 or 5 years, put your time into it and your passion into it, and breeding boas, they could die.
Right.
On ovulation, they could die. So you put your money, 4 years of feeding, 4 years of cleaning, 4 years of your whole life into a snake, a bad ovulation or even a bad lay, and all the babies are gone, and the mom's gone, and that's a lot of time. So a lot of these breeders have 50, 60, 70 boas because they know every breeding season they're going to lose a couple of them, which definitely sucks, because like I would hate to lose this snake right here just because I wanted to keep the hobby going with anacondas. You know what I mean? And then she dies in 4 years, and I just put so much time and effort into her. That would suck. So that's kind of like what's keeping me from breeding boas. But ball pythons can breed, basically not have any issues. But everybody does ball pythons. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, I don't want to follow the normal of people. So
Right. And that issue that you talked about, it's like taboo. It's not talked about.
It's not.
You're on social media, you see clutches, you see litters, you see ovulation, you see, big round snakes getting ready to give birth.
Yep.
Hardly ever do you see, I lost my snake during ovulation, or it passed giving birth.
But that's another thing, is because, I mean, you see new keepers come into this hobby, and then you see what the price is for. So it's like an anaconda, they're $1,500. They could get 20 of them as babies, and that's a huge paycheck. But it's 4 years of feeding her, 4 years of housing her, 4 years of all these other bills, and if she dies, I lost all of it. And I think a lot of these big time breeders who do lose a lot of snakes aren't going to talk about it, because there's so many people, new people, that think they know everything, that they'll just start bashing these people on, well, you didn't have the right humidity, you didn't have the right heat. And they're like, I've been a boa breeder for 30 years. I know what I'm doing. And a lot of these big time breeders have been breeding for 20 plus years, and they lose snakes consistently. And so once you're in it, like I said, once you're in it for the money and stuff dies, then you have to have a passion for the snake, because if you're just in it for the money, you're just going to kill your animals.
Yeah, I love that passion for the snake. One of the things, like I said, I talked about earlier, is I get to do is matter of fact, next weekend, somebody asked me to bring some snakes to a birthday party, and it's the greatest thing in the world. Some of these kids, they're going to be deathly afraid. Some of the parents are going to be deathly afraid of the snake. And I've had many instances where the kid at the end is holding a snake. The mother at the end is holding the smallest snake that I brought. It's a life-changing experience. Really, and for me, that's where the passion lies. It's education, it's knowledge. And I don't claim to be any expert on boa keeping or snakes in any way, shape, or form. But I think I experience underneath my belt where I can take my snakes somewhere and comfortably show them to somebody, give them a little information, let them handle it, and let them see that they're not this vicious monster that they thought they were prior to seeing it,
And then that's another thing. Everybody says like, the anacondas are man eaters. They're going to kill you in your sleep. And it's like, this one, my other anaconda, my smaller anaconda, it took it a year to eat a rat that big. Like, yeah, it's really gonna harm me. And I have a boa, the VPI Aztec, that literally hates me, who tries to bite me. It's not the anacondas that are biting me. It's the everyday boa that everybody has. That, I mean, she's getting better, but she still has her moments.
Right.
We're bonding, but it's like everybody's so worried. Your anaconda is going to bite you. No, but my boa will, and my everyday boa will bite me.
Right. The funny thing is somebody's dog is going to bite them.
And that's another super hot topic that I like to get on, because every day you can kids get mauled, and killed by family dogs.
Right.
And since the 80s, since in just America, in the 80s, there's only been 15 recorded deaths from big constrictors where they have wrapped them around, had gotten wrapped around their necks and then had a bad incident. But you can see 15 deaths in dogs in a week. But yet here's all these laws that are banning reptiles, and you need permits and you need all this ridiculous stuff on a snake that will, like, you will literally die in a car accident before your snake kills you.
Most bites from a snake and a snake owner are usually the snake owner's fault.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's why, like, because I deal with all my snakes by myself, and that's why I have a hook. And a lot of people judge me on using a hook, but it's like, it's just me. So if my big Argentine, or if, you know, one of my bigger snakes wraps me on a hunger strike, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with having a hook at all, because it's just an extra safety measure that I think people need to get over. It doesn't make you any less, I don't know, I don't even know what the wording would be, but I mean, I'll use a hook. I don't care. Like, I do not care.
Yeah.
I do not want to get a bite, a food response bite from.
That's it right there.
And because if she wraps me, she could wrap me for 20 minutes or more, especially when she gets really big. Now I do have a bottle of mouthwash that has alcohol in it. So if I do get a bad bite and a wrap, I'll just pour alcohol on her mouth. So, you know, it's like, it's probably not the greatest thing to tell people, especially on the internet, but
it works.
It works.
As a matter of fact, I've seen videos where some of the most watched people, YouTube snake channels, suggest just that: credit cards, mouthwash with alcohol in it, or hot water.
Yep. I don't know who it was, but I was seeing some channel saying that if you can bite the snake's tail, that they will release. But if you have a 15-foot snake, the tail is not going to be anywhere around you.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to see. That's kind of interesting to see.
Bionic Bunny, I appreciate the donation. It will definitely help on the mail. So I've been emailing Nerd about it, because I would love to have a male green for Pop-Tart. Hand sanitizer works well. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody should own a hook. It doesn't make you any less of a, it doesn't, I don't know. People say, oh, you're a nerd. I'm like, well, I'm not getting bit. So like my Argentine, if I stick my hand in the cage with my Argentine, she will light me up every single time. But if I hook her out, even if her body's halfway out with the hook, she's perfectly fine.
Hey, so there's a comment that I'd like to address. It's from John. It says, so I just got mites for the first time in a lifetime of keeping snakes. No idea how it happened. Be great if anyone has advice on safe treatment. So I actually have a couple of videos on my channel, because I had it happen to me. And it was my fault. My quarantine process, I got real lackadaisical on it, but I ended up with rooms full of snakes and mites. My living room looked like a triage unit. So if you go to Constricted and Addicted, I have 2 videos up. One of them is what I did to get rid of mites. And it's really geared to people with a lot of snakes in their collection, because I saw a lot of videos on social media with people that like had 1 or 2 snakes and they got mites. But finding a video that had a full-blown collection and how to treat the whole collection, that was kind of hard to do. So I triaged everybody. I had to buy some tubs, and what I did worked. I am now mite free probably for the last 4, 5, 6 months now. And it was really bad because my call albino, I pulled her out and they were just crawling all over him. And I felt super bad. I felt like a totally bad reptile keeper. You know, here I am, and I'm showing everybody all these snakes, and they've all got mites. And It was, you know, I got to thank everybody who reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, it happens to everybody."
It
I don't know
does.
if it happens to everybody, but it happened to me, and I've seen it happen to a lot of people. So what I wanted to do was just create some videos on what I did, what I've learned, and maybe it'll help you out in the process.
And one thing that people don't realize is you can get mites from getting bedding at a pet store, or if you go to a reptile show and you just looking at snakes, you can bring them home with you on your clothes. And then once, like if you go to a reptile show, handle a snake or something, and then come back home into your snake room, you can pass on mites that easily. So it doesn't necessarily mean you're the bad keeper. It just means somebody else had mites and then they gave them to you.
Yeah. The bad thing about mites is you never see it until it's too late. They've gotten into your collection and they've gone through it. And usually it starts when you see one snake. If it's in the water dish, and maybe it's a snake that you've never seen soak in a water dish before. That's what happened with me. That's how I realized, or my suspicion factor grew. It's like, you've never been in a water dish before. Why are you in one now? Then all of a sudden, I'd see another snake in the water dish and another snake in the water dish, and I tried to pass it off. I also tried to minimize and like do half-assed jobs on treating it. And I'm going to tell you, there is no such thing as half-assing a mite treatment. You've got to do everything all at once, or you will be battling mites for a long, long time. They're very hard to get rid of unless you attack them all at the same time. And like I said, I did a video where I did just that, and it took almost a week for me to do that. Where do you go? It's my channel now. Hi, I'm Ben from Ben Cincy Snakes. Just kidding. Ben's no longer here, so hopefully he'll jump back in. But good luck with your mites. And then, like I said, if you want, check out my channel, Constricted and Addicted, and I've got a couple of mite prevention videos that I've done. And you can always reach out to me via Instagram. I'm at Gary's Constrictors, and if you have any questions, definitely contact me, and I'll help you out where I can. So I don't know where Ben went. We'll give him a couple more minutes and see if he comes back in. But hey, I want to thank everybody for I haven't been able to watch. Like, see, I have my camera right here in front of me, and I have a laptop over here that has all the questions on it. So if I'm looking down here, it's because I'm trying to keep up with all the comments that have been said. But what I'll do is I'll go through all the comments once this is over and then address them personally. But what's your views on taming Ben and Gary? Yep, that's exactly what it is. 4 snakes who never soak in their water bowls. Yeah, and that's a telltale sign right there. So like I said, if you have any questions, reach out to me. I got rid of them, and I have not had mites now for some time. Boy, I tell you what, I fought them for probably the better part of a year, where they would go and they would come back, and they would go and they would come back, and it was just, it was difficult, and it felt really bad because I love my animals, and I thought I did something right for them, and then they came back. So I feel like I've taken over Ben's channel, and he's not here no more. So I'm going to go ahead and end this thing. We've been doing this for over an hour, and I will contact Ben to see what happened. And I want to thank you guys for allowing me. Ben, I know you'll see this later, but thanks for asking me to do this. This was a fun time. And oh, there he is. I long enough to come back.
I had a snake wrap around the cord and disconnected me.
I took over your channel for about 2 minutes.
Oh, no, you're good. I appreciate that.
It's been fun here.
You have all the information that people want.
Preference for treatment. So this is what I used. and I still have some. I keep it handy. I have not sprayed any of this stuff in my enclosures since the treatment, but because I have like ADD, I guess, I keep it really close by. This stuff here, and I'll show you another product I use, but that's only because I couldn't get any more of the Lugardi, was this stuff here. I had to completely take apart all the enclosures. As you can see, I've got 5 AP enclosures here. I've got racks. I've got a custom built rack in my other room and another 12 space rack in another room. And it's labor intensive, taking all the substrate out, soaking all the dishes, throwing the substrate away, taking anything else that might be in there, soaking it with hot water and bleach, taking everything outside. One of the things that I learned, especially with mites, is when you have enclosures and there's little like joints where things come together like this, the mites will get inside the enclosure, the cracks. The eggs will get inside there. And if you don't seal it, those eggs are going to hatch, and all that work you did, those mites are going to come right back. And that's what happened to me. So I had to seal everything so that there's absolutely no way that there's a mite egg that's going to hatch and get back into the enclosure. So Lugardi mite spray. Here's another thing I'm using. They're called pest strips, or they're called no pest, and they're about this big. You can buy them at a hardware store, and they last for about 5 months. They're supposed to be a deterrent for all bugs, including snake mites. Do they work? I don't know. But somebody said use them, and I've been using them, and I have no idea if that's why I haven't had mites, but I haven't had mites. Somebody said it works. I've been using it. So like I said, if you want to message me on my Instagram, please do so, and I'll help you out.
Yeah, a lot of people say like the mixed reviews of different mite stuff that it kills their snakes, but I mean everybody has something to say negative about everything, and I've seen people use a whole bunch of stuff, even the lice treatment, and right. I've seen good stuff like that.
Sorry about that, Ben.
No, it's fine. I mean, as long as it's like a natural product and it's good for, I'll say as long as it's good for humans, it should be good for snakes.
Right.
No, I wouldn't put anything, because I know there's some mite stuff that is like toxic, where it says do not put this on your snake and do not spray this around your snake and let it dry before you put your snake back in. And I wouldn't trust that around any of my snakes, even though people say it works well. I can't remember what the name of it is, but I've heard people's snakes dying from that. I think it's Prevenamite.
Prevenamite. There you go.
I've heard people say, yeah.
You can use Prevenamite as long as you don't have the animal in the enclosure, and as long as you wait a couple of hours before you put the animal in the enclosure. What I do, and if you could stick your head in that enclosure and take a big whiff, it doesn't knock you out, it's safe to put the snake.
But I'm sure that stuff that you showed, you can use it on the snake as well, like with the reptile mite spray. You can spray that on a snake, no problem. The lice treatment you can do, and I think that natural stuff that you showed in the black bottle, you can spray that on a snake too, right?
Yeah, personally, I wouldn't spray lice treatment directly on a snake, only because I know we're humans and it's designed for us, but that stuff right there is designed by a reptile company, and it's all products. There's no toxins in it. There's nothing poisonous in it, and just from experience, I believe it works. The Prevenamite, it works, but you cannot spray that on your animals. It will kill your animals.
I think some people found that out the hard way.
Yeah. But mites are a very treatable situation. It's just a very labor-intensive project. It really is.
I couldn't imagine getting mites and having a full breeder like operation, having like 1,000 snakes getting mites, because that'd be horrible.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the problems that I ran into is that I'd find all these videos that had like 1 or 2 snakes in their collection, 2 or 3 snakes in their collection. I was dealing with 15, 16, 17 snakes. And it's like, how do you do this? How do you treat all these snakes? And I really had to think outside the box. And Nerd had a great video about treating one snake. So I took that video and made it for multiple snakes.
Nice.
And I think
nice.
you might have seen I had the like an 8-foot heat strip across the middle of my living room with all the tubs on top of it, right, to keep the water warm.
Oh yeah,
And
it's the little stuff that you think about.
Treating them.
That's a mess. But I know breeders like Will Banks, and he's one of the top breeders in the world, and they don't let any snakes come into the building. They don't buy snakes. They breed all of their own stuff, so they don't have any issues with disease or bugs or anything like that, which is a good idea, but a lot of us don't have $1 million setup.
Right, or invested that much time into what
they do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because a lot of these big timers have 1,000+ snakes, but they bred a ton of them themselves over the last 20, 30 years. So they have their own collection of their own animals. So they really don't need really anything new because they can just breed whatever they want.
Right. No, it's a kind of a catch-22 for me when, I buy a new animal, I bring it into the house, I've got, even if I know the snake came from a reputable breeder, I know the snake breeder has got a very clean facility, I still quarantine that animal for a minimum of 3 months. And what I want to see is good poops, good sheds, and good eating. When I see all that and I don't see the little black specks running around on the white paper towels, I feel safe to put that animal in my collection. And when I cut corners because it's been great, I don't see nothing wrong, that's when I run into problems.
Yeah. Some people quarantine up to a year. I'm really bad at quarantine because I buy all my stuff from the same person. So it's kind of like, well, I just put it in here and I do spray. So like when I bring a new animal in, I do spray the animal and I do spray all the other animals with the mite stuff. And then when I go to the local shows, I spray after that because there's people at the local shows, the breeders that have mites. And then that's the last thing I want is to get on my clothes. And then I come in here and hang out and
right.
It's just, it can be a mess. And you went and you know all about that. So it's like, it's very easy to get mites. And if you even get, like I say, like if you go to the pet store and you just get bedding, one of the snakes that the pet store could have brought in, the bugs could have wandered into the bedding and then you just brought home all the mites. And then it's just a simple mistake. And then now you have a whole infestation of black little bugs everywhere.
Yeah. And the mites are not good for the snakes at all. They suck their blood. They'll make them the snakes will become lethargic. They'll become skinny. And eventually the mites will kill them. It may not happen overnight, and it may not happen over the time of a year, but left untreated, mites will kill your animals.
And I think they could stress them out enough where they would stop eating as well.
Right.
Because I think they're like ticks. They're just going to suck the blood on them, and then they could move from one snake to the next, and then just pass.
Right. Then they lay eggs, and the bigger your collection is, the bigger the problem becomes.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I don't wish on anybody, but it happens.
No, that's why I saw the comment come up, and like I said, if you or if anybody needs help with getting rid of mites, I've got the experience, got a couple of videos about it, and if you want to message me directly on my Instagram page, please do so, and I'll help you out.
And there are some big time breeders that are known to have very nice stuff, but if you buy off of them, you're most likely going to get mites, which is really sucks because some of these, I'm not going to say names, but he's big time in the industry, and 9 out of 10 times if you get an animal from him, you're gonna have mites, which I don't understand why that happens, or why he allows it to happen, or why he doesn't take care of it. But who knows? And he gets bashed all over the internet, but he's still in business. People still buy from him because he has really nice stuff and expensive stuff, but you might get bugs.
Yeah. Another bad place is Craigslist, and that's where my initial infestation came from, was Craigslist. I brought a snake home, and I don't think the people that had it were taking care of it, and the indication of, well, it was laying in its water dish. It's never done that before, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together, of course. So, here I am. I introduced a snake into the collection that had mites, and yeah. So be careful with them. Quarantine your animal, unless you get them from the same.
Yeah, like if I was going to get anything off Craigslist, or if it was an animal that somebody already owned for the past couple months, other than just a baby, then I would definitely have issues from quarantine, because they could even have IBD, and most of the times babies aren't going to have that. Big time breeders are not going to have that, but it only takes one snake from some random person that you don't know, or off Craigslist, where you can get a deal on a snake, and then this deal kills off your collection, or you get bugs from it. But yeah, definitely if it's an older snake, or somebody's had it, or it's a rescue, then 100% I would keep it in another room. But if it's just a baby off of like Justin Kabolka or Chosmer or Chi-Town Constrictors, or some of these people who are the top leading breeders, I mean, they're not going to do anything to ruin their name.
Right.
I feel like, because I don't think Ozzy or Justin is going to be giving people sick animals, because I'm saying, like, they have a multi-million-dollar business, and they're not going to jeopardize that.
I'll tell you a story. I lost my Bolivian last year. I had a Bolivian short tail that was one of my favorite snakes. Of course, again, I'm in the locality boa constrictors, and I purchased a Bolivian. It had a spine problem. I don't know what happened to it. I don't want to eliminate me from the equation, but it definitely didn't have the problem when I bought it. Something that, I don't know if it ate something too big, or a problem that developed over time.
Right.
But none, it passed away. Well, her sister was at my friend's house that she purchased, and it just passed away.
Oh, yikes.
So it's kind of, and this came from a pretty. So I'm wondering if there was something in the breeding, the clutch, that
is weird.
Yeah. She just texted me the other day and said, "Hey, my Bolivian passed away." And they were sisters, breeder, the same clutch.
That is weird.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of a sad thing. It really is.
So who's the breeder? The breeder would be, and this is just going off of what people say, I've never bought anything, so it is what it is off of that. But Bob Clark, as I hear, has a lot of his stuff comes with mites. And I know Bob Clark is a very well-known breeder, and he has very high-end animals.
He has good pictures.
He does, but I've heard lengthy, multiple complaints that you get. Like, if you get it from you're getting a solid animal, you're getting good genes, but you might get some bugs with it. So, but again, yeah, but I mean, he's been in the industry forever. He has pied Burmese pythons for $25,000 up there, and they sell. So apparently, the bug issue is not a problem with a lot of people, because with mites, you can get rid of mites on a single snake. If you quarantine a snake that has mites, you can get rid of them probably within a month. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess it just really depends on the person.
My Bolivian was not even, I don't believe she was a year old. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know about the imported snakes, but that would make sense. And he's a big time guy. Like he has a lot of good stuff. And I was gonna buy some snakes off of Bob a couple years ago, and I started seeing all the stuff with mites. I'm like, nah, I'll just go with somebody else. But
I
again, like
actually,
I don't know why he doesn't take care of his mites. Like, just get rid of them. It's not that difficult to get rid of mites, and you don't
I
have a real name anymore.
last year I inquired about a moon glow to him, and it's funny because I go back through my messages in Morph Market, and he had a moon glow, but I was looking for a female male, and $825 if I have to go back and look, but it was way cheaper than the moon glow I purchased last month, man. I
Yeah,
paid $100 for my moon glow.
I did too.
But I'd say it's really it's not about the money, because I can afford it. So if I see an animal that I want, I'm getting it for a couple of reasons. Number one, the first thing is that I truly love the animal. There's something about, and again, this is going to revert back to people like you, Ben, that post your animals on your Instagram, on your YouTube. I watch, I get to see, and that piques my interest. And man, it's like, I'd love to add something like that to my collection. And this is the vicious cycle that I go through when this happens. I watch a Ben video. Ben shows me an Argentine. Ben's got the subliminal message. You need an Argentine. So I start going on Morph Market and searching for an Argentine, right? And that's how it works. And then I buy it and go, hey, Ben, check out what I got. It's all your fault. But in reality, what you've done is you've brought some light and some life into the hobby for someone like me. So
Yeah.
The moon glow that I have now, it's not going anywhere. It may not ever breed for all I know. But what I do know is that it's an animal in my collection. It's going to get the same love that every one of my other snakes that I have is going to get. And I love my snakes much like people love their cats and dogs. They are my kids in a sense. And they're a very special kid, because I like to think of it like us as in the hobby, right? We're all like off on this left side of the planet. We're like castaways. Nobody likes us, right? But we have snakes and we like each other. And we get each other. When you see some guy in the grocery store, he's wearing a Cocoa Block shirt, right? You know what Cocoa Blocks is, and you're like, right on, man. So you can stop in the middle of that store and start talking about reptiles. And then you get that really neat feeling that somebody identifies with you, somebody gets you, somebody has that same passion for the hobby that you do. And I mean, that's the more that we share this with people, the more that we educate people, and the more that we share our knowledge with people, the broader the spectrum becomes. We get more people to do it, or we get to dispel the fear and the misnomers about what people have been taught in the past, like the lies that people have been grown up with, that snakes are bad people, snakes are going to eat you. When you've got a baby out, you've got a constrictor out, that constrictor sizing up the baby. All this stuff that we hear gets to be crushed by people like us.
And that's the thing, like there are very few incidences of a snake killing a baby, but yet you hear about it with dogs often, or with little children. They like a family dog will maul a kid. But if somebody goes, what type of pet do you have? They're like, well, I have 2 dogs, and then nobody freaks out like, oh my God, like it's not going to eat your kid, is it? It's not going to bite your kid. And it's
Right.
like, and they're like appalled by it. It's like, well, you have a very significant chance that your lovely dog will and has happened probably this week mauled somebody. What I'm saying? Like, it's just like, anytime we have snakes, it's like they're going to get out of their cage somehow and find you and then eat you. But in reality, your dog is going to eat you before a snake will any day of the week. So I think with more people,
walked in front of my house and my snake chased him.
It's just like, it blows my mind on what people are raised or and anything. And so it's just like, it's just ridiculous. And then cats, it's like,
Oh, there, I lost you. Are you there? Did Pop-Tart get your camera again? Well, looks like we may have lost Ben again. So I'm going to look at some comments. I got most of my enclosures came from AP cages. They got an extremely long wait time. Oh, there's Ben. He's back.
internet issues.
I'm lucky I haven't had any yet.
I got internet issues. I got GoPro overheating issues. I got all kinds of problems.
Here. That's the reason I'm looking for a Moonglow like 24/7 now. See what you do, man? You're an influence on the community. Darn you.
But they're rare. I like to get some snakes that are a little bit more rare than the normal person would have.
I have one. Just a second. I'm going to put Max away. And I have a snake in my collection that I don't see anybody. No, I have not seen anybody. I haven't. I've not seen anybody with one of these snakes. Just a second. I'll be right back.
It's crazy to think that 50% of kids will get bitten at some point from a house, from a domesticated pet. It's crazy. And some people, and they're not all pit bulls either, but people like to blame the pit bulls and put laws and stuff on pit bulls. But I mean, you just don't see, like in Ohio, you have to have a permit for a 12-foot snake or more. And then they come in and they make sure your house is properly set up. You have the proper cage. You have to pay yearly on this stuff. You have to let your local sheriff department and fire department know that you have a snake. But then on the dog, they're like, you just have to get a tag for it, but there's nothing, the state's not coming into your house and checking on the living conditions of your animal, which is kind of ridiculous. I like monitor lizards too, and I like the black throats that Nerd has. A baby berm. I like berms too. They can be a little bitey, but they're nice to have. What one is that one, Gary?
So this is a Vin Russo produced Tamaulipas cloud forest boa.
Nice.
And it's native. It's a Mexican forest boa.
I don't think I've seen this before.
You see a lot of Tarahumaras in the collection. And this is the other side of where the Tarahumara would reside, is the Tamaulipas cloud forest. And I've done a lot of looking. They're not very easy to find. I got lucky to find this one. And she was the one boa in my collection that I was just not happy with. She's not a very interactive animal. She doesn't like to be handled. She doesn't strike and she doesn't bite, but she gets flighty. So I've just had to her, and she's a lot better than what she used to be. But I mean, she's almost 2 years old.
She looks good.
And she's like 2 feet long, but she's got these beautiful, I don't know if the light's catching it, but she's got these beautiful orange colors coming up through her sides now. And before, she was just really a plain Jane looking boa, like just like drab. And she's really turning into this beautiful, colorful, and on most occasions, she'll actually sit in my hand. She shows me that if you're just patient and you work with your animals, they calm down. They calm down. Now, the IMG, I'm not going to pull out because I don't know what I pull out. When I open that drawer, it's hit or miss. She's either striking at my face or she's letting me pick her up.
That's how my VPI Aztec is. You don't know what type of attitude she's gonna have, but you'll probably get bit.
So what I do with her is I'll put my gloves on and I'll watch Game of Thrones, or I'll watch a series on Netflix, and I'll just hold her for an hour, and at least that gets her used to the handling. Once I get her out, she seems to be okay. It's getting her out, and
Yeah.
when she's striking at me, I feel really bad because I'm wearing the gloves. She'll hit the glove, and then she'll oracle back, and then she'll cower, and then I'll try and get her, and she's trying to get me again. And they lose teeth, they can hurt themselves. I really don't want that. No, I don't want to stress her out. So when she's in that kind of, I just let her be. But there's other times I open the drawer up and she's just fine. She lets me pick her right up, and
That'd be nice.
she hangs out. It's kind of like your VPI Aztec, but mine forgets. Gets that. Hey, it's okay, It's like that movie 21 First Dates with Adam Sandler and what's her name?
Yeah.
Trying to constantly remember his name. I did buy this from Jungle Bob. Jungle Bob had this for sale, and my friend and I were just talking about the Tamaulipas cloud forest boa when it came up on Morph Market, and yes, I did purchase from Jungle Bob, and yeah.
Isn't Jungle Bob in Florida?
New York, I think.
New York, okay. No laws in the UK. That must be nice. Mainland's in the 90s. I heard some of the males can get really nasty during breeding season on the retics. I heard the females are pretty okay, but mainlands, I can't deal with the full size mainland.
I lied.
Wow, no gloves.
No gloves, but she's tight. Her body's very tight, and that's what I gotta watch out for.
We might see some live action here.
I hope not. Not my account. That's one of the I don't like. I don't want a live bite. Video. She deserves respect. She really does. So I'm really working with her. For me, it's really getting to know her body language when I open up the rack, and I touch her, and if she looks at me like what are you doing, then I'm going to leave her alone. But she appeared to be okay. But this is another, Ben, it's all your fault.
So there's my grouchy girl right there. I don't know if you guys can hear her, but she's not happy. So I don't know. I just don't like when they do that.
I have my ghost do that.
Oh, she does that?
Oh yeah. I'll open up but you just get her out and she's fine.
I know. I don't know where my snake hook is. Oh, here it is. So I'll try to get her out. Let's see how she is. So here she is. And she definitely looks like she wants to bite me.
Oh.
But I don't know why they act like that. Like, we don't do anything to them to be threatening or to think that we want to kill them.
I think it's just a baby response, and some have it and some don't. It's funny. I have a friend of mine, and like I said, Leanne, she's a great friend. She has Herpnasium on Morph Market. She's got a lot of snakes up for sale. Check it out. But she told me with my collection, as my collection grown, and I never had a hissy or a bitey snake. And I remember her telling me, "You're fortunate. You're going to get one day." And into my life came Anya, my IMG Motley. And she has definitely shown me that there's a lot of tolerance and patience that takes place when you've got an animal that, and trust, because I got to trust her. I don't want to get bit. I don't care if it's a small snake or a big snake. I don't want to get bit. And it's not so much the bite; it's the strike.
It really is. It really is.
The bites are superficial, and I love it when people post a bite and there's blood all over it. But you can wipe that bite clean, and it's like a scratch, right? And that's really what it is. They're just tagging us with their. It's like being punched with needles.
Yeah. But
it's the strike, and the strike is what gets my heart going, and it gets my feet going, and it's like I don't want that, So, Anya's that snake. She is the one that definitely has shown me that, number one, start using a hook, and I think that's fair to the snake, only because when I go in there and I rub a snake with a hook, it's letting it know that I'm coming in. I'm coming into its home. And it's also letting the snake know that I'm not feeding it. And I've been told that snakes have like 3 modes: feeding, defense, and so in their enclosure, if you get them into run mode, that's usually when you can pull them out without a problem. And rubbing the hook on them will usually get them to start going the other way or whatever. And that allows me to safely pull the snake out, especially with the bigger snakes. I don't normally have any issues with Coconut or Max getting them out, but I still think it's good practice just to rub them and let them know, hey, I'm coming in. It's your home. It's not mine. And I'm going to pull you out.
I agree, because any tame animal can bite you, and anything with teeth and a mouth can bite you.
Yeah.
But all it takes is even your most gentle snake. It only takes one movement, pulling a snake out of a cage to startle it and it bites you, and then you both lost trust in each other, and then you get a little nervous every time after that. So that's just why I just hook them out all the time.
This snake was in my hands, being handled when it bit me. It wasn't like I was pulling it out. I took my eyes off of her, and I got tagged. So it's really about reading the animal. It really is. At least for me, I have to look at, like when I pulled her out, her body was just stiff as a board. That is a number one indication that she's not happy. Right now, she's got really long tongue flicks. That's a good sign. That's telling me she's smelling her environment. She's not freaked out. But it's when she's doing these little short flicks. That's kind of like she's kind of stressed out. She's checking everything out. The other thing is that her neck is stretched out. She's not in a strike mode, which I don't call that, strike mode. But I do have to look at her body and assume by tongue flicks, position, tightness, is she like getting ready to strike, or is she just in a comfortable position?
But they can turn pretty quickly from curious to I'm gonna bite you.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that's with the anacondas is in the Brazilian rainbow boas as well, is they will strike and can strike without giving you any notice, and they don't have to do that little S motion on their necks, and they can just bite you whenever they want, and they're very muscular, so they can swing around and basically bite at their tail if they need to. Because I've noticed, well, none of mine have struck at me, but that's just what people say, is they're very unpredictable, unlike ball pythons and bows, where you get a little bit of a heads up before they strike at you.
Right.
but at least we both have one angry snake in our collection.
Yes, we do. Actually, I've got a couple, but this one is the one that is definitely there's a trust barrier here, and it's I as much as I joke about it, as much as I may post on Instagram about it's getting better, it's actually kind of a neat thing because this is an area where I am building trust with this animal, and this animal is building trust with me. So by the time it becomes a subadult, hopefully both of us will have enough trust in each other that I can grab her, pull her out, and handle her. And there's not going to be that keep you away from my face because I'm afraid you're going to strike at me. We will have established something. And it was like with my Tamaulipas cloud forest boa, we had to establish a relationship. And I believe that we are working, on that consistently.
Short-tailed python. Yeah, I have heard the short-tailed pythons can get a little nasty. But it is interesting how most people say that snakes are dumb and they don't have recollection of what's going on other than feeding or survival. But it's just interesting that you can take a snake that wants to bite you and then tame it down and where it recognizes where you're not an issue. Yeah, boas are definitely very food motivated, especially when they get bigger.
So here's my Peruvian longtail.
Is that locality?
Yep. This is a Peruvian BCL.
Oh, I've heard that expression and I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, he's a dwarf. So he'll get about maybe 4 or 5 feet long.
That's not bad.
But he naturally has IMG. And I don't know if it's actually IMG, but there is a gene that this snake carries that as it gets older and as it sheds, it actually gets darker. And
wow,
one from Living Legless, he didn't have the parents, he didn't have the lineage of the parents. And being, with locality boa constrictors, that kind of interests me is where did the parents come from? What was the parents' line? And he didn't have any of that, but he sent me a picture of the parents and they were both almost jet black. I don't care. So he's been kind of an interesting addition, very inquisitive, very cautious. He'll strike at me if I put my hand in, but never. He doesn't hiss. And once he's out, he's gone.
I've noticed a lot of boas get very territorial with their cages and their environment, and then when you take them out of that environment, they seem to calm down a lot. Yeah,
and I think the more that you do it, the better off they are. Both of us are.
Yeah.
A lot of people that get this is. I mean, I'm sure you could relate with this. People get a boa constrictor. Say someone, an amateur, gets a boa constrictor, and they get something like this. They open up the tub or they go to get it, and it strikes at them. Guaranteed that snake ends up on Craigslist.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Because obviously, I mean, it may not be everybody, but there's a good portion of people out there. They have good intentions of buying a snake, and it becomes a little bit cage aggressive.
Yeah.
And then is that it's on Craigslist because they can't handle it.
Yeah, or they keep it, and the only thing the snake knows is the food going into the enclosure. So
right.
When they do sell it, it's just angry and hungry all the time.
Yeah. So,
but I try not to look at Craigslist on what's available because I'm not gonna say all of them, but almost every snake you see put up on Craigslist is like in the worst possible living condition ever.
I try not to look too, but it's inevitable. You know, it's
I don't know if people do that, like if that's the real living condition, or if people just like make it look bad. So somebody's like, I have to buy this snake. So then it's a super fast sell. You know what I mean? Because if they can make the living condition look horrible, then somebody's going to feel really bad about it and they'll pay to get it.
All right, man. Hey, I'm going to buzz on out of here.
All right, cool.
It's been a joy sharing snakes with you and getting to know you a little more. And like I said, man, I appreciate you. I really do appreciate your channel, appreciate your content, appreciate what you do for the community and everybody that's, you know, asked questions. I'm going to go through all these comments and I'm going to reply to anything that I can. And like I said, I want to thank everybody for being here. It's been great.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And hopefully everybody on here subscribes to your channel, YouTube and Instagram, because you have a lot of good knowledge and awesome snakes and stuff. And so hopefully we can bump up your channels, and appreciate you coming on here and spending almost 2 hours talking to everybody.
Probably go another 2 hours because I've only shown you half the collection, right? And if you're interested, it's Constricted and Addicted on YouTube and Gary's Constrictors on Instagram. Check me out. I don't have getting bit videos. I'm just, you know, like Ben, wholesome. I'm going to show you my snakes, show you what I do, and pray that I don't give off this vibe that if you're not doing it my way, it's the wrong way. Because as long as you've got snakes and as long as they're living and they're thriving, you're doing it the right way.
The non-clickbait YouTubers.
Yeah, that's why I only have 230 subscribers.
You'll get there, though. You'll get there. It always starts off slow, and then once you break through the algorithm, you'll get there. And everybody loves boas. So if you come out with content with boa stuff, people will definitely be interested, because there's so much ball python stuff out there that everybody's like, oh, it's something new and cool. And then maybe people will get more interested in boas, because not a lot of people are.
Yeah, they're my love and they're my passion.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks again. I appreciate it. And I'm sure that you will be hearing from me. And again, thank you guys who tuned in with the questions and the comments. I appreciate it.
Yep, definitely. Appreciate the support, everybody. And we are out of here.